All right, well, it's great to be back in the black hole of real estate. And this week, we want to talk about some of the things that are going on in the marketplace and to help break down, give a level of understanding of where things are going. Yes, there's some NAR decisions out there impacting things, but that's not till July at the earliest. It's 3, 4 months away from now. And so there's going to be a lot of home sales and a lot of real estate activity between now and then. And we are not necessarily sure that everything that is in this NAR settlement is actually going to take place in its form that it's currently in. My suspicion is there are going to be some changes with that. And, it's pretty clear that there's a lot of energy behind making this thing a reality in July, but there could be some changes. I think that's pretty normal in these situations. And, Department of Justice is certainly going to have their say in this. And I think the National Association of Realtors have just said, okay, just tell us how you want to do it right now. So the first thing, in situations like this, there is always going to be conversations. And while I don't spend a lot of time in the chatter and the speculation game and the wondering what if and the fear game, none of that. But I'm getting an ever increasing number of phone calls from some interesting places. Number one, attorneys. A lot of attorneys that I speak with are asking questions about it and what solutions we would have in place and just how are we going to function and operate, because there's some sentiment that the system that's been in place actually did work. Clearly it doesn't work for everybody in that true form right now, but it does work. And I'm wondering what that's going to look like as far as a viable path to have something similar on the other side of this. And now attorneys are contacting attorneys and calls are coming in. And so there's energy behind the attorneys wrapping their head around not changing the law or changing statutes. It's just what's the level of understanding? How do we function? Because attorneys have houses too. And they want to know what it's going to look like when it's their turn to sell or make an investment. How are they going to be able to manage the real estate game? And so it gets really interesting. And I think we all have this vision where some people may be left out. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. And I think there's going to be some solutions in there, but it's going to look different. And yet there's still people, financial world especially right now, says, a client with the ability and net worth to purchase what they want or have what they want or select the right agent, they're probably just going to do that anyways. I mean, we see it already. You could buy a very, very inexpensive basic phone, and yet there's iPhones everywhere, there's Androids or whatever your favorite is. But there's plenty of $2,000 phones out there, so I don't think that's getting in the way of a lot of people, the way they want to communicate. And I think there's plenty of other examples across the industry, but the phone is the easiest one to understand. I believe that people will want to pay whatever premium is necessary to get what they want. And it works in both directions. The premium is small for something that's less desirable or less effective or just basic. And a premium on something more value or perception of value, well, it's just going to cost more. So I believe supply and demand just takes over very, very quickly right now. But the number of calls that I am getting on a daily basis from those in the business world, the financial world, investors, and attorneys and CPAs, there is a lot of interesting conversation, none of it based on fear. It's actually based on next steps. We're going to continue to conduct real estate sales across many, many businesses. Just wondering what it's going to look like and how they navigate it. And that's what we'll continue to talk about over the next few months. But right now it's just business as usual, which is robust. Thankfully I don't see a lot of advertisements out there that say buy now before the change or sell now before the change or just wait. I've mentioned that, last couple of weeks, the industry basically just, had a moment. But the rest of the world just kind of yawned because it happens in seemingly just about every other type of business over the last several years with all just rapid change, technology, and just a different way of doing business in general. So what's, on the horizon right now? Well, I actually saw something a little bit different recently. We had a couple of situations where people actually went through the whole sales process and they did their final walkthroughs and didn't close, which isn't all that common. Left their escrows behind, just made a decision not to purchase, and I think it was rather random and pretty unique for the environment, even that we're in right now. And so when we hear stories like that, we can sensationalize them. And we say, oh, people are walking away because of the uncertainty in the market. And what I really believe was there was some uncertainty about either a particular property or a financial situation. Things change over the course of 30 or 60 days. And maybe when you're making that purchase, you're in the perfect place to do it. But if there's a life change or a life circumstance, or maybe you're an investor and you've got 3 properties running, you just bought a 4th one, and there's no way between labor and cash flow to get them all repaired, and you're taking on an additional risk. Sometimes it's easier to leave a escrow behind and reduce your risk so you can focus in on the project. Sometimes people get a little ahead of themselves, and I think it would be a dangerous thing to just say, oh, wait, we had a few situations where people walked on their escrow. I think there's layers and context below that. And if we use this situation where just a couple of small sample size, a couple of things happened, but we look at an ever-changing landscape, there is going to be a number of things happening that could easily be lumped into one ball, one situation, one conclusion, but it may not represent what's actually going on. And I think that's what we really, really got to watch for right now. Are we racing to finish the sentence before somebody finishes giving us the rest of the information? And are we truly working in such a way that we're looking at the entire landscape? I'm not all convinced things are going to change as much as people are fearing, because people are still going to want to move. Most are going to hire an agent in whatever way that looks or is possible in this next iteration, months from now. And you need to look no further than all the places around you that have oil changes performed, because every one of us could take the time and the effort and the money to go buy what is required to change the oil in the car. And yes, most people choose not to do that. They pay for that service. They either don't want to do it, don't want to spend the time, or maybe they feel unqualified to do it, or a little bit nervous about doing that. Because I can say the same thing about a restaurant. You can absolutely make your own food, but yet we'll go out and pay a premium. And this game, same for beverages. All around you, there are things that we pay for in the name of convenience or not wanting to do it. Most of them don't involve hundreds of thousands of dollars. And not everybody has a real estate license or is an attorney or knows the ins and outs about the contracts. And it just seems to me that when it's all said and done, a lot of people are going to want representation. They'll choose a level of representation that they want, and they'll choose a level of expertise, and they'll pay appropriately. But it's always been that way. That really, and this is for me, nothing really changes. Zero-sum game. We're still doing the same thing, just a little different way. As we talk about the eclipse that was taking place, we've eclipsed some moments in sunlight, we've eclipsed some moments in sales and opportunities. And as we head into what a lot of people term as the busier season, as we get in the second quarter of 24, I think we're going to find is there are some sales teams, brokerages that are actually pacing ahead of last year, which might seem little surprising to some, but among the best and the best of every profession, there's going to be record breakers out there, and I think we will see some consolidation in the industry. I think it's almost required with some of the changes going on. Teams are still a busy thing, providing a variety of services at expert levels, and I think the highly rated ones are going to do really well in this market. I think a single agent that's extremely nimble, extremely tech savvy, can take advantage of all the moving parts right now, could also have a place in this. The level of exhaustion for the number of changes taking place and the ever-changing technologies and AI that's permeating every business, not just real estate. It's absolutely going to be a lot to keep up with for most people. And for those that are really good at that piece, they maybe spending a little bit less time on the real estate sales and more on the technology and be tech enabled to help sell their homes. I'm interested to see how that plays out over time. But what I know is there's massive, I mean, massive opportunity in the real estate space right now, whether it's on the investor side. Some of the Airbnb stuff is slowing down only because of people not traveling as much to Airbnbs. The hotels are super competitive right now, and they're offering things that the Airbnbs can't provide. It's going to be really fun to watch that play out. There's definitely opportunity, whether it's as a sales agent, an investor. Still some flips out there right now, and there's going to be opportunity just for everyday buyers and sellers, if you will, because the inventory is starting to creep up right now. It continues to do that. So for me, it's just arrows all pointing up right now. It's just the only thing different about this year is that it's 2024 instead of 2023. People are still buying and selling properties, and they're doing it in a similar way. And I think the focus is going to be what are the events of this year that are going to affect the opportunity for buyers and sellers alike. I think you'll see increased inventory, probably some lower interest rates, which should spark the market regardless of how the moving parts work and how we conduct business and write up offers and contracts. So if you're thinking of moving, I wouldn't be scared away from it. And I wouldn't be trying to time the market. I just wouldn't. It's almost impossible to do, and nobody really knows. I mean, if the market is driving up, then you'll sell higher, you'll pay a little bit more. If it's driving down, you'll sell a bit lower, but you'll pay a little bit less. It's almost impossible to sell high and buy low, even though it's what we want to do. So we all profess to do. It's super hard to time that market out, and there's a 50-50 chance you're going to be wrong, and it might spin in the wrong direction for you. But either way, I think it's going to be somewhat neutral, and the best time to move is when you're ready. Hope you guys have enjoyed a little bit of perspective this week and not a lot of chatter about crazy things and all these lawsuits and settlements and just getting right down to brass tacks of what's moving this market right now. But really smart people are getting a lot of information what to do next, not what just happened. This is Ron Wojciechowski checking out for the day. See you next week on the Black Hole of Real Estate.